In this video, we're going to be talking about USGA handicaps, how they're calculated, and whether or not you actually need one. Let's go putts around. Hit the ball! Yes, it is that complicated. Boom. Hey guys, David Folk here, and on this channel we do golf club reviews, golf gear reviews, instructional videos, and Geek Speak videos just like this one. So if you're new here, consider subscribing. So as the new year comes around, maybe some of us are thinking we want to play in a little bit more tournaments, or we want to join a league this year, or maybe a couples league with the spouse to get out and have some fun and enjoy the warm air as spring and summer happen. And as you join those leagues, you're going to need a handicap. Now, most states have a handicap system. For instance, here in Idaho, we have what's called the IGA. A bunch of courses have the little computer. You just walk in, type in your name or type in your number or your handicap, and you put in what you shot, and then it keeps track for you all year long. However, you'll notice that here in the United States with the USGA handicap, what you shoot doesn't necessarily correspond with your actual handicap. And depending on the number of rounds that you play, they calculate a specific number of rounds for that. But if I shot an 85 all the time, my handicap would not be 13. It would actually be a little bit less. We're going to talk about how to calculate the handicap, what it actually means when somebody says, oh, I'm a 2 handicap, and whether or not you need one. As we begin, I brought my scorecard from Freedom Course here. Let me pull it there. Freedom Course at Falcon Crest Golf Course. This is the course that I do all my club reviews, all the on-course testing. This is my home course. Absolutely great. So if you guys are ever in the Treasure Valley area, highly recommend. It's 9 holes. It actually goes pretty quick. You know, I can walk it in about an hour and a half, depending on how fast I want to play. And it's super fun. It's super long. From the tips, from the longest tees, it's 3,900 yards for 9 holes. The great thing about this course is that it actually has 5 tee boxes. It has the professional, championship, red, white, and blue. It's a great course. So if you guys are ever in the area, 9 holes, quick round, great fun, great course. I bring this with me to talk about how a handicap is determined. And this little card here has a couple of things that we need to look on it. And the first one is going to be slope. So if you look up here, you can see slope, if I can get it here in focus. The slope for the professional tees is 144. Now the slope rating ranges from 55 to 155. So obviously the higher the number, the harder it is, and the more slopes, undulations, that's not flat. So for instance, Falcon Crest here with the Freedom Course, not flat. So slope, undulations, all those take into account here for the handicap rating. You also have what's called the course rating or the stroke rating. And here at the professional tees, you can see that it is 77. And you divide 77 by 2, you're looking at 38.5. And that's what they're saying the scratch player will shoot is 38.5. So that tells you how hard the course is if a scratch player is going to shoot 38.5. Now, there are ways to calculate that, and that's going to be coming up in another video when we talk about all these wonderful things on the card, like how to calculate slope, how to calculate the course rating, as well as how they determine what holes are hardest, what holes are easiest. That's going to come up in the springtime when I can get out there, kind of show you guys hands-on, on course, let you guys take a look at the course itself and different holes to say, here's why they're saying this is hard because it has X, Y, or Z on it. So here's how the USGA calculates the handicap system. They're going to take your score minus the stroke rating or the course rating times 113 divided by the slope rating. Yes, it is that complicated. So as we look at the course rating, 77, on a 9-hole course, what they'll do is they'll take your score, multiply it by 2, then subtract 77 from it, times that by 113, and divide that number by the slope. So what we're going to do is we're going to take my handy dandy phone here and give you a calculation of what your handicap would be if you shot 40 on the Freedom Course. What we're going to do is we're going to take 40 and we're going to multiply it by 2 to give me an 18-hole average. Then I'm going to subtract 77, which is the course rating here for the Freedom Course, and that's going to give me 3. Next, I'm going to multiply that by 113, which gives me 339. Then I'm going to divide that by the slope rating, which is 144 here on the Freedom course. And that's going to give me a handicap of, I don't know if you can see that, 2.354. So my handicap would essentially be 2.4 on that course if I shot 40. As you look at handicaps, if you shoot bogey golf, if you shoot 18 over, you're not going to have an 18 over handicap. Let's take a look at that one, and we'll use the same example here. If I take bogey golf, which is 45, and I multiply that by 2, that's going to give me 90. Then I'm going to subtract the course rating, which is 77, and that gives me 13. I'm going to multiply that by 113, which gives me 1,469, and I divide that by 144, which is the slope rating here for the course. That leaves me with a 10.2 on the handicap. So you can see, because of the slope rating, because of how hard the course is, your handicap is going to be lower on this course than, let's say, a flat course that you're playing that has minimal trees, and the course rating and the slope rating are going to be lower. So there are some courses that actually have a lower course rating than 72. Let's say you play at a golf course that has a par 72, but the course rating is 69.7. Your handicap is going to be different than this one because this one would be considered a more difficult course. Now, how did they come up with the number 113 when calculating the handicap index? And the answer? No one knows. There's a lot of information out there that speculates that it was some sort of empirical data, or how they came up with it's the average slope rating of all the courses in America when they calculated it. But none of that really seems to be accurate. USGA hasn't shared how they came up with that number. So really no one knows how they come up with 113. But that's what the number is. And that's what we've been using since the handicap system was created and instituted by the USGA. Step 1, done. Now we move on to step 2. What scores you take into account for your USGA handicap. And you have to have a minimum of 5 rounds up to your 20 latest rounds. So if you have 5 or 6 rounds, you use the lowest score of those 5 or 6. If you have 7 or 8 rounds, you use the lowest 2. 9 or 10, the lowest 3, 11 or 12, the lowest 4. I think 13, 14 is 5, 15, 16 is 6, 17 is 7, 18 is 8, 19 is 9, and then at 20 rounds, you take your lowest 10 scores. So once you figure out what your 10 lowest scores are, you're going to add them together, and then you're going to divide that number by 10 to give it your average handicap differential. Yes. It is that complicated. Then you're going to take that number and multiply it by 0.96, and that is your handicap index that you will take with you from course to course as you play. Yes, it is that complicated. The final step is going to be discovering what the course handicap is. In order to figure that out, we take the handicap index that we just calculated, we multiply that number by 113 divided by the slope, and that's going to give us the course handicap. Now we're going to take that course handicap and we're going to apply it to what's called the adjusted gross score. And what that means is there's a table in the USGA, or if you have an app that probably already calculates this for you, that tells you what the adjusted gross score is based on the course handicap index. So it's your handicap compared to the course, what the course would say. If the course handicap is 9 or below, the maximum shot that you would have is going to be double bogey. If you have a course handicap between 10 and 19, the maximum score you're going to be able to get is a 7. If you have a course handicap between 20 and 29, it's going to be 8. Between 30 and 39, it's going to be 9. And between and 40 and above, it's going to be 10 is the highest that you can shoot. Yes. It is that complicated. Now, there are many advantages to this, and the biggest thing that I see is going to be pace of play. A lot of us don't necessarily play this way, but the idea of having this adjusted gross scoring, what they call equitable score control, is trying to keep the game moving along, trying to keep the pace of play moving. A lot of us who don't necessarily have a handicap, you hit some shots, and if you hit like 2 in the water, you're just gonna pick up and move on to the next hole. I mean, because you want to keep the pace of play going. You're not going to sit there and plunk 5 in the water and just keep ringing up the score. That makes sense. I understand what they're trying to do there. So the app that I have, the Grint, actually calculates this into there. My handicap is going to be 9 or less. So I have the maximum of shooting double bogey, apparently, according to this, for my handicap. But I put in whatever score and it calculates it for me automatically. So I can go back and look and see how I scored on specific holes, if I got an 8 or if I got a 9 or if I ended up with a 12 because I plunked 4 in the water. The great thing about the app, allows me to see the scores that I shoot, but also adjust my handicap accordingly for that behind the scenes, so I know what my handicap index is. So when I do play in a league, or when I do, you know, randomly play in a tournament for some charity or for whatever, then I can have a handicap for that. The last piece we want to talk about is, do you need a handicap? And again, it depends on what you want to do. Do you want to work on trying to play in some tournaments? Do you want to play in some leagues? If so, generally speaking, you're going to need some sort of handicap. And it's just for fun, right? It helps you play against people in your own ability levels. Leagues take that into consideration. When you guys are shooting, they have a gross score and they have a net score so that you guys can compete against people who are shooting in the 60s and the net category, so that you can constantly try to win prizes, as opposed to always shooting 96 and the guy who's always in the lead shoots a 68. And it's like, why do I even try? It also allows you to compete against yourself, so you know how you're doing. It's actually pretty fun to keep track of, and that's the joy of golf, and that's the great thing about the game. That I know a lot of people are scared off by the handicap, because it's like, oh, well, then you have to tell people your number, and all of a sudden it's, well, my number's better than your number. But that's not the way golf is designed to be played. It's competing against yourself and the course, and can you play better than you did last time. So guys, I hope that helps you understand how handicaps are calculated, why you may want one or not, and what app I would recommend that's free that can help you find your own handicap. Let me know in the comments below, do you guys have a handicap? What is your handicap if you want to share it? And what kind of courses are you playing on? Do you play on courses that have a higher course rating and a higher slope? Or, you know, share all of that information. I think that'd be really fun to hear and collaborate and say which courses you like out in your area. So if other people come out and play, that's a course that they can look for to say, ooh, that looks like a fun course, let's go play that. I look forward to hearing your comments down below, as well as your questions. I'll be happy to answer anything that you might have, or at least try and find the answer for you. As always, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate your time. Hit that subscribe button while you're down there. Give us a thumbs up because YouTube likes that. Thanks for watching, and we'll chat with you next time.